Hello everyone, back tuning into today's third video. So having a little sneak peek for the autumn of 2018 for today's third video. Because yes, we've released a summer 2018 forecast. That video is currently on the homepage, and later on it will be placed on the summer updates and now the summer forecast page. There'll be a written summary that goes with it as well. So have a look at that when you finish with this video, and you'll be able to see what Gazov is predicting for the summer. We also have the Gazov Sunny Roundup, of course, as always on a Sunday. And this is your third video. And now that the long-range bandwagon is rolling on from summer, where we go next is to autumn in terms of the long-range update. So from next month, from June, right way through to the end of August, the last Sunday of August, we will be doing autumn 2018 updates, and of course when we get to the final Sunday in August, not sure what day that is yet, but the final Sunday in August is where we will release the GazOfBiz.com Autumn 2018 forecast. So by way of just getting you ready, getting you set up for the autumn updates, I thought we'd have a little sneak peek for today's third video. So I'm going to talk you through some of the things that I'm going to be looking at through the autumn updates, and then we'll have a look at a few models to see what they're showing for the autumn as well. So we begin here with the sea surface temperature anomalies. We'll be keeping a close eye through the next 3 months on what is happening in the oceans. We've got the Atlantic Ocean, of course, over here. That's got a very unusual and striking sort of Atlantic sea surface temperature anomaly, so we'll keep an eye on that. Over in the Pacific, we'll be keeping an eye what's happening in the northern part of the Pacific Ocean. Will we go into a cold PDO, or will we have a warm PDO as we go through the autumn? And primarily for the autumn, what we'll be looking at is what's happening in the ENSO region. So the ENSO region, of course, is this area of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean from Peru through to Indonesia. We have had a La Nina through the early part of the year, but we are now back to ENSO neutral. Will we shift through this summer into the autumn? Will we shift to a El Nino, to a warm event? That's certainly what the most recent ENSO update that we released on Friday was suggesting. The ECMWF model is indicating that we are likely to find ourselves going into a weak to borderline moderate El Nino event by the time we get through to the end of the year. So we've got the dates along the bottom of the chart here, and the temperature anomalies are along the side. So there's the dates, there's the temperature anomalies. So in this sort of area with the ECMWF ensemble plume, that's taking us into sort of weak to borderline moderate El Nino condition through the summer and into the autumn. That's August just there, and that's September just there, that's October just there, and that's November just there. By sort of September, October, November, by the autumn, we see that the ECMWF model wants us to have a weak to possibly borderline El Nino, and it looks like it wants us to have a central-based El Nino as well. So if I show you regions 1 and 2, not going as high with the temperature anomaly in regions 1 and 2, back this period just here. So staying closer to ENSO neutral over towards the eastern portion of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean, but in the central Equatorial Pacific Ocean, which is region 3.4, it is warmer. So what this tells us is that the ECM, anyway, is forecasting a central base Modoki El Nino to be in place by the autumn. So that could well be one of the factors that we look at through the autumn updates. We will be keeping a close eye on El Nino, on ENSO, of course. We'll also be keeping a close eye on solar activity. Solar Sunday will be with you 2 weeks today, so in just a fortnight we're going to have the delayed Solar Sunday, delay from May, pushed back to the 11th of June, so not long to wait for Solar Sunday, but we'll be keeping an eye on solar activity through the course of the autumn updates. This is Solar Disk on our side of Disk today from solarham.net, and we've got low levels of solar activity. We are very close now to solar minimum, so I'm sure we'll be having a look, probably through through reanalysis and analogs. I'm sure we'll be having a look at what these autumns are like when we are virtually knocking on the door of solar minimum. We'll also be keeping a close eye on the QBO. Will there be any shift into a westerly QBO? This is where we currently are with the quasi-biennial oscillation. This is from the University of Berlin, where when you're in this white area, that is the easterly QBO. We are firmly in an easterly QBO right now. The dark areas, those are the westerly QBOs. We're expecting the transition from an east to a westerly QBO to begin very soon. At the moment, the only sign we have of a westerly QBO is up here at the very top part of the atmosphere, but essentially there's still no real sign of westerly QBO on these charts, and these are updated up to April. Still no real sign of a westerly QBO beginning. We will go into westerly QBO at some point, of course. Will it be in the autumn, or will we continue to remain in easterly QBO condition through the autumn? If we do, we may see slightly reduced, slightly weakened zonal westerlies, because the QBO is a reflection of the strength of the zonal westerlies. So if we're in a westerly, if we're in an easterly QBO, we may expect through the autumn the zonal westerlies to be a little bit weaker. But anyway, we keep a close eye on what the QBO is doing in our autumn updates. Of course, we will also be bringing you regular analogs updates as well. My good friend James Ackrill has been working so hard on the summer updates, so I'm going to let James have a week or two off from the analogs, but James will be back, I'm sure, very soon with some autumn analogs for you, and essentially all of the stuff really that we talked about here, and so turn activity of QBO, you will see what the effects of these things are via reanalysis and analogs. That's the way that we're able to show what the effects of, for example, being in an autumn that is around solar minimum could be. It's through reanalysis and analogs. So as ever, you'll be seeing plenty of analogs updates over the next 3 months as we build up towards the autumn forecast. And then, of course, there'll be the seasonal model. So as well as all of this stuff, all of the analogs updates of the autumn, we will have 3 seasonal model roundups as always, where we get all of the long-range models together, see what they're all showing for the autumn. And that will make up part of the autumn forecast, along with the analogs as well, when we get through to the end of August. So I thought, just to finish off with this little sneak peek for the autumn of 2018, that we throw in 4 seasonal models. We're going to begin with the analogs forecast from Patal Peng. So this is what Patal is forecasting for the 200 millibar height anomaly for the autumn of 2018. Patal is going for an unsettled autumn, an area of below average heights out to the west of the UK, above average heights extending through the Atlantic, and bring the flow and the jet stream through like that. Could be quite warm because the air will be coming up from the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean, so it could be quite warm at times. But mainly, main thing there is that it will be a very unsettled autumn with that trough of low pressure, probably bring quite a lot of rain. The temperature anomaly from Patal Peng's analogs look like that. Patal is working within the umbrella of NOAA, by the way, but I think he's independent of the overall sort of seasonal model. So these are separate and above, if you like, to the actual CFS V2 NOAA model, that I'm going to show you as well in a moment. Patal is forecasting warmer than average temperature anomalies for the UK and for Europe too during the autumn. But perhaps more strikingly, Ptah is also going for a wet autumn with above average rainfall, substantially so really, predicted for much of the UK and Ireland as well. So a proper wet but fairly warmish autumn being predicted at this very early stage. It's really early stage for any long range output, by the way. But at this very early stage, Ptah is forecasting a warm and a wet autumn. CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly for the autumn of 2018 looks like that. Fairly weak signals. We do have a bit of a blocking signature though up to the north of the country, and looks like the Azores heights pulled back in towards the Bermuda area essentially. So this could be a signal for a southerly tracking jet stream maybe through the course of this autumn, and possibly something a bit cooler coming in from the north or the east. That's quite speculative. It's not a great deal to go on, but just the position of those two areas of high pressure, one well to our north and one pulling out towards the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean, just maybe indicates that we may be in for a little bit of blocking and a little bit of a southerly tracking jet stream through this autumn. Temperature anomalies are very, very weak from the CFS V2. No real signal either way, other than it is coming out with warmer than average temperature anomalies for Iceland, also for eastern parts of Greenland and the far north of Scandinavia. So this could all be indicative of high pressure being to the north, in the northern latitudes for this autumn, and if it is, then we might see the jet stream going on more of a southerly track. If that was to happen, then it could be initially unsettled and perhaps fairly mild in September, quite wet perhaps, but as you get later on into the season, of course, southerly tracking jet stream is going to bring colder air to us, and colder air would typically be drier. So autumn is one of those seasons where it's transitioning. Early on, a blocking pattern and a southerly tracking jet stream in September probably going to lead to quite a wet month, but by the end of the autumn, by November, you're probably talking about quite cold but dry weather. So we'll wait and see on that. Very weak signals from the CFS V2. This may also go along with the idea of a southerly tracking jet stream. This is the precipitation forecast for the autumn from CFS V2. Notice quite wet across France and maybe southern England. A little bit drier up there and there. So again, this could all be indicative of the model predicting some high pressure to be to our north and the jet stream to be to our south. But again, long way off, a long way to go, and we'll have to wait and see how that develops. This is the Beijing Climate Center. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the autumn of 2018. Actually, it's a 200 millibar height anomaly for the autumn of 2018. It's been a very long day. I'm recording this video at 10 past midnight on the 24th of May, purely because I've got so many updates to get through over this weekend, but I thought I'd better crack on and make an early start. So if there's a few mistakes creeping in, it's because it's so late and I'm really tired. So this is the 200 millibar height anomaly for the autumn of 2018 from Beijing Climate Center. Above average heights, very close to the UK, so it's going for quite a settled autumn, to say the least, with a fair amount of high pressure close to the country. Temperature anomalies with Beijing Climate Center for this autumn are coming out above average. Your model is going for a warmer than average season. Precipitation anomalies excuse me, are coming out generally on the drier than average side through this autumn. So a relatively dry but mild or warm signal from the Beijing Climate Center. No trend yet, you'll notice. It's very early days to get a trend anyway, but certainly for these three models that I've looked at, no trend at all. And then finally, we've got Jamstack IOD. So I'm just going to flip this over because that's the wrong chart. So we want to go to surface air temperature anomaly. This is the surface air temperature anomaly that the Jamstack model is predicting for the autumn of 2018. And it's coming out a little bit cooler than average for Scandinavia, for the UK, and for Ireland as well. Other parts of Europe, southern Europe, coming out with a warmer than average autumn. But for the UK, it is a little bit cooler than average. Let's just finish off with the precipitation anomaly finally for the autumn of 2018. and you'll see that to the north of the country, it's generally going for drier than average conditions up there, so maybe hinting at high pressure to be up there. The wetter conditions look like they're to our south, so again, some ways back similar to what CFS is hinting at, but maybe we've got a bit of a southerly tracking jet stream going on here for the autumn, with high pressure setting up there that might be pulling in the winds from the north or from the east. Initially, as I say, in that kind of situation in early autumn, in September, will produce probably quite a wet month and also quite sort of cool, but the main thing would be that it'd be a fairly wet month. By the time you get through to November, it flips a little bit, because when you get proper cold air, it holds less moisture. So by November, you will be talking about really quite dry conditions from that kind of pattern, but also cold and a chance of frost and maybe even a little bit of snow. So it's a really mixed bag, as you would expect from these long-range models at this stage. We're only in May, only at the end of May. And we're just going to have to wait and see how the long-range models sort of deal with things as we go through the next 2 or 3 months. But that has set you up for the autumn updates. That is your autumn 2018 sneak peek. It all kicks off in June. I'm not sure when the first autumn update will be, but there will be at least one coming up through the course of June, and they'll become more frequent as we go further on through the season, through July into August, and of course by the time we get through to the end of August, the final Sunday of August, we will release the GavsWeathers.com Autumn 2018 forecast. So buckle up, it's all about to start for the autumn. But before we get to that, don't forget, if you haven't yet seen the summer forecast, the video is on the homepage right now. It's going to be placed on the summer forecast page later on with a written summary as well. So do check it out, because it's an interesting forecast to say the least. And also, of course, we released GavsWeathers Sunday Roundup earlier on today, so have a look at that as well. Tomorrow, we've got the historic video, as always, on a Bank Holiday Monday, doing a historic video. This time, we're looking at the summer of 1959. Okay, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.